Fight fans, welcome back to Carl Prusa MMA. Today I am with the UFC, one of the UFC's hottest 135ers. He is Mr. Elijah Smith, getting ready, making that return in the UFC octagon, taking on Su Young Yu March 14th, back at the Apex. Elijah, what's good, my friend? How are you?
What's going on? I'm doing great. I can't complain. About to go ahead and go do it again.
Absolutely. Obviously, last time out, what a statement. We talked about before that fight. You were like, this is this $50,000 bonus. This is where I make my name. I think you did a pretty good job of it. I mean, one of the biggest talked about knockouts from last year, big slam. Looking back at it, man, what did you make of that whole experience?
Yeah, it was definitely a crazy experience. Not one that, we were predicting, but it just happened. So, I mean, yeah, what a crazy year it was last year. And I was actually hoping to get back in there before the end of the year, but we just never got the call. But now we got the call, so now it's time to go.
Absolutely. You know, one thing about you, man, you're a very technical fighter, but you're also very fun to watch. You have that mentality. You're trying to go for the finish. You're not grinding guys out. You're trying to take your guy out as soon as possible. For you, has that just been a mentality you've always had?
Yeah, that's always been a mentality. I mean, to get into the UFC, in order to get into the UFC, you got to get finishes, and not only get finishes, but be an exciting fighter. And I feel like that's always been me. I'm a crowd pleaser. Even when I was wrestling in high school, little leagues, club wrestling, I want to throw people. I want people to be like, oh, like I like to hear when the crowd goes crazy. So that kind of like motivates me to go out there and just perform.
Speaking of a crowd, we're going to the Apex again, but a little different this time. They've expanded it. There's a lot more seats in there now. The last one, it looked like there was a bit of a ruckus in there. Do you kind of like that? A little more crowd, a little more people in that environment?
Yeah, I always like the Apex. The Apex is fun. It's more intimate. And then it just feels like since I fought there, my last 3 fights, every time I go in there, it just feels like a more intense sparring session compared to maybe fighting in an arena, which, after this fight, that'll graduate me out of the Apex. And then we get to perform in front of 20,000 fans or whatnot and really get that live action feel. But I love the Apex. Apex is a good place for fighters, especially new fighters that are coming into the company. It gives them a place to really get comfortable and really find their groove before they just shoot you out to the main, to the big doors or the big league arenas. But either way, it doesn't matter to me. I come to perform. It's going to be on Paramount Plus this time as well. So I'm sure more people are going to be tuning into the fight because it's, a lot more accessible to watch the fights now than going through ESPN. So I think this is also a great thing for fighters as well for the Paramount Plus.
Following the last bout, where were you when you got told that you won the bonus?
Where was I? I was at the Caesar's Palace. Me and my family we had went out to eat, and then I ended up going to a cigar lounge because I have my own cigar, and I teamed up with this guy named Brian Smith. He owns the Triumph cigar company, and I have my own Elijah Swift Smith cigar. So I was at the cigar lounge in the Caesar's Palace, and my manager texted me. He was like, "We got it." I was like, "Yep, give me another shot." So yeah, that was a good night. That was a night to remember.
Following that fight, what was your phone like for the next, maybe 3-4 days? Was it nonstop, just blowing up?
Oh yeah, I mean my phone sometimes still is blowing up, still. But yeah, definitely it was going crazy. Doing interviews, flying to different places. Going to they even flew me out for UFC 320, and that was electric. That was super fun. It was just like everything that I could have imagined and more. It was a lot. It was fun, but it also, to come back home and like just like dang, from where I come from, Colorado Springs, it's like that it was a big deal. And like a lot of my friends and family, like, man, it was even better to just come back home and celebrate with all my friends and family and training partners.
No, you had told me once, I believe it was after the debut, you were in the hotel wearing your jersey, and someone was like, "Oh man, you have an Anthony Smith jersey," and you're like,
Yeah,
"Oh, it's mine."
yeah.
Are you starting to notice some more fans? Are you starting to notice maybe people
Oh
more
yeah,
than you are feeling it?
a lot more, a lot more. I mean, everywhere I go, I feel like somebody recognizes me. And when they put two and two, like I show them like the fight, they're like, "Oh, that's you. That was you." I like that surprising part because when you meet me, I don't really come off as like a MMA fighter. Like you wouldn't. I don't really tell people that. Like I don't come off like, "Oh, guys, I'm a UFC fighter." I'm not really braggadocious like that. I kind of like I could see like. For example, I still work at my job at the Subaru dealership, and I see people, they'll look at me when I'm checking them in, they'll look at me and do a double take. And once they do a double take, I'm like, oh, okay, they recognize me. And then I come back to them and they're like, hey, Elijah Smith, right? And I'm like, yeah, that's me. So definitely getting a lot more recognition around the city. And then even when I go out and travel, it's kind of that's the part that really kind of gets me is when I think I was flying to San Francisco, and I was going through the security, the TSA, and one of the guys, they stopped me. They were like, Elijah Smith. I was like, yeah. I was like, oh damn, that's wild. That's wild. Because to me, I'm like, how would somebody even recognize me? Like, I think it's just so crazy. Like, of course, everybody will recognize, the John Jones, the Conor McGregor, all that stuff like that. So, to get that recognition from somebody that's not even like close to my, city, my hometown, it's like, okay, I'm on a good track.
Absolutely. It's kind of crazy. Like 18 months ago, roughly, you were getting ready to fight in Fury. All of a sudden, this note opportunity came up to fight Aaron Tao. Now we're 2-0 in the UFC, about to do our third one. If someone would have told you 18 months ago that this is what would have happened, would you believe it?
I feel like I would have believed it because like the way how I think is like if somebody else believes like I could be, at the top, then there's no reason why I shouldn't believe in myself on why I can't be at the top. Now, how it plays out, that's something I couldn't have imagined. That is something like who the slime KO, like that's wild. Like that would be for like no matter what I do, and I could go on and win the belt and do crazy things, but forever I will be known as the person with the slam knockout. Forever. Forever. So that's to me that's pretty cool. That's pretty cool.
Absolutely. Obviously your dad, former UFC fighter in his own. But one thing that you had mentioned to me, I think it was the first, second time we talked, was, you had that discussion with your dad where your dad straight up said, listen, I got there, but now you're on a pace that we haven't seen before. You are
Yeah.
now at a new trajectory. Are we kind of now like both you guys kind of feel like we're both exploring this together?
Oh yeah, 100%. Like we're like since my dad was in the UFC, I mean, a lot has changed. A lot has changed. So we're still like, navigating our way through it, kind of getting used to the system. And yeah, the longer that we're part of the UFC, it's like, yeah, there's so much more that we're learning, whether if it's through, contracts, whether if it's through sponsorships, promos, just every especially now with the new Paramount deal, like that's something that we're also still like we're going through the same things all together, so I think that makes it even better for me, whereas it's like we kind of get that same like, oh yeah, this is dope, but it's still, we got to be like, we're still locked in because we act like, what they always say, you got to act like you've been there before, so that's always the case, but deep down we're like, damn, this is legit, like this is dope, like not many people get to you know enjoy this side of life or even get to witness this part of life, so to be one of those selected few to experience that, it's definitely eye-opening. I'd be lying to you if I said that we we didn't care, because we do, it's big.
One thing that anyone could watch you fight can take is you're very mentally strong. For you, has that always come naturally?
Oh yeah, that's always I mean, naturally, I don't want to say naturally, but definitely over time, just working. When I was growing up, I was always a smaller kid. Like I was probably like in middle school, I was like maybe 4'11", 85 pounds or whatnot. And then when I got into high school, I knew that I probably wasn't going to be the tallest. I probably wasn't going to be the biggest. I was fast, But I know one thing that I can control is how strong I am. And especially having a wrestling background. So I was in the weight room day and night, night and day, just grinding and grinding to the point where it was like, no, you're not just gonna, for example, for football, it was like you're not just gonna run me over, or wrestling, you're not just gonna double leg take me down. Like you're gonna have to grind for this. So it was definitely a long process of hard work and dedication, but also that mentality. You got to have that dog mentality of like putting your foot down. Like, no, this is how it's gonna be, and I'm not gonna let anybody alter my my path. So yeah, no, definitely.
You mentioned it a couple times. Now we're on Paramount. It's pretty awesome. We don't need to go to B-dubs anymore to watch the fight. Stay home, watch it. A lot more eyeballs now, obviously. A lot more people starting to watch this as a result. Do you think this is going to revolutionize the whole game?
I think so. I think it has the potential to revolutionize the game, and just bringing more eyes to UFC and MMA. You'll have people who never even heard of the sport. I can't tell you how many people I run into, and they're like, MMA? I'm like, but you have Paramount Plus though, right? Yeah. Okay. Well, cool. Well, now you're already a step ahead of the game. So if you already have Paramount, and you're looking for something new to watch, here it is. And also you get all these cool, dope fight cards for free. They're not pay-per-view, although you got to pay that $8 or whatever. But that's better than paying I think what it was like 85 or however much it was for a pay-per-view. So definitely, I think it brings a lot more new eyes to the sport, and yeah, this could be a game changing for sure. I believe in it.
There's a term now that we use called the casual fan. And
Yeah.
obviously, social media has become a big part of fighting. Sometimes you might read some stuff, you might hear twist them in the what. Any lines, any comments stuck out to you, maybe about you since you've been in the UFC, and made you want to laugh, be like, what the heck's going on?
There's one that kind of sticks out to me. I don't know. It after the power bomb. I think somebody on like TikTok, they said like this is like the third most devastating power bomb or bomb to hit Japan. I was like, good lord. I was like, come on. But yeah, I see a bunch of crazy stuff online, and I just laugh. It's all for jokes. I never take anything too serious, even if I think there was one guy that said because as I know, as everybody knows, like I am part Korean, and the guy that I'm fighting is also Korean. I think somebody commented on one of my posts, and they said that Soo Young Yu called you a fake Korean. I was like, oh, okay. Well, I didn't say. I was like, I'm not this like, oh, I speak the language. I'm just saying like my family, my heritage, my background. It runs in my family. So I always tell people I'm always cool. Like I don't know, you'll have to say something crazy to really get me off my edge. You probably have to, I don't know, talk about my lady or maybe my daughter or something like that to really get me off my edge. But for the most part, I'm so nonchalant. It's really tough to get me under my skin. But definitely fight fans I've seen, they've said a lot of crazy shit that I probably haven't even seen yet for real. So it's fun. It's funny.
So we're getting ready just here in a few weeks, returning to the UFC Apex, taking on Soo Young Yu. Overall, what do you think of him as an opponent here?
I think he's a good opponent with a good record. I think he's 16-3, really good grappler, black belt in jiu-jitsu, strong wrestler, has good hips. Yeah, he's a really good fighter. Really well-rounded. I just don't think he's fought anybody like me. And I'm excited because I don't spend a lot of time on my back. Actually, if anybody wanted to do their homework on me and they look at all of my fighters, I don't spend a lot of time on my back, and I don't get taken down very often. So that's why I'm really excited for this type of fight to see what what our two styles and how they're gonna clash. But I feel super confident. I feel strong. I'm looking forward to this. Nothing but respect, but it's just business. And as everybody would ask me, what's your game plan for the fight? I of course want to go out there and get another first round knockout and get 100K bonus. So that'd be my game plan. If I got to grind out, 3 hard, tough rounds, then shoot, I'll go ahead and do that. But like I said, I'm a crowd pleaser, and I want to go out there and go get another finish and prove that I belong.
Obviously with him, he's 3-0 in the UFC. Being able to get a big win, possibly a finish here, does this get you close to that top 15?
I think it does, but I still feel like I have like a little bit of a hill to climb. The bantamweight division is such a stacked division. You have a lot of great fighters who are still on the rise and coming up as well. But I definitely think this will put me, get me closer to where I want to be. And I'm not rushing anything. I'm just here to fight. I'm here for a good time, not a long time. And yeah, whatever they ask me to do, I'm there. I'm there 100%. As long as I'm healthy, um, yeah, I'm willing to fight whoever, whenever.
A big bantamweight contest that occurred a couple months ago. You had Malcolm Wellmaker,
My
48
guy.
hour notice switch, took on Ethan Ewing.
Yeah.
In his hand raised, but what a heck of a fight that was.
Yeah, Malcolm. Yeah, Malcolm. He's my guy. He's real dope. I got a chance to train with him. And yeah, just always has good high energy, a lot of wisdom. And Ethan Ewing he's just a good fighter. I think a lot of people would talk about him being fraud checked. I don't think so. I think Ethan Ewing is just a good fighter. That's really what it comes down to. And yeah, it was a hell of a fight. What an opportunity. You get your call up to the UFC at Madison Square Garden. Yeah, I mean, you go out there, you get a win against a guy that with a heavy favorite. I mean, that's pretty good. That speaks a lot to what type of fighter you are. But yeah, I have respect for both of those fighters, and I'm like I said, I think the bantamweight division, it's so stacked. There's so much talent, which is why I say I feel like it's still a long climb up to the top, but little by little, inch by inch, you will be seeing my name in that top 15, top 10, and then soon enough top 5, and then getting into that contender spot.
We talked about the casual fans, and I think for the most part they understand what's going on here. They know you guys are trying to get fights, to get bigger fights, win belts, all that stuff. But very few people understand the fight outside of the fight. To me, that's a fight not to have to clock in at 9 o'clock and clock out at 5. Something that you're doing. That's that fight to secure financial freedom. That's that fight to make your own message, create your journey. Don't follow societal norms. To live life on your terms. Has this been a bit part of your journey?
Definitely. I mean, that's been part of my journey, is to become a full-time fighter and then start building up my name, my brand, and building up our gym here at home, and become one of those main top name gyms. And that all starts with winning, winning, and not just winning, because as we've seen guys win and still get cut, and that happens. If you're not one of those, again, crowd pleasers, you may, and you don't even get cut. A lot of guys, they don't get cut. They just finish out their contract and then they just don't get re-signed, and that we see that happen a lot. So that's always been my number one goal, is to get to the second contract, get to the third contract, make myself a household name in the company. And then, that way the money starts, raising up more, and then I can quit my job and become a full-time fighter. But yeah, I mean, as for fighters, I think a lot of people, they say like, oh, Elijah, I want to see you be more active throughout the year. That's not on me. Like I said, I had last year, I fought February when I fought Vince Morales, had a long break in between, fought August, fought Toshiami Kazama, got a first round knockout, no injuries, no anything. And like I said, I wanted to get in there before the end of the year. November, December, they never gave me a call, and it wasn't like we weren't asking. We were asking, and there's just a lot of fighters on the roster. There's over 700 fighters on the roster. 44, I think there's 44 events. About 12 to 14 fights on each card. You're probably looking at fighters fighting twice a year if they're, depending on what their weight class is. Like if you're a flyweight, okay, you might see them fight a little bit more. If you're a heavyweight, you might see the same guys fight a little bit more often. But between 135, 45, and 50, like all those middle weight classes, is so stacked that to try to get everybody on the 3+ fights in a year, it just the stars would have to line up perfectly. So that's another thing I want to let fight fans know is that like a lot of the times, it's not us that are saying that we don't want to fight. We want to fight because we want another paycheck. It's just the numbers that that are in the UFC that kind of plays a big factor.
For you, how do you think you've grown and evolved from your time in combat sports?
Man, I think I've grown a lot from being this spazzy, you know, wanting to go out there and just like I would go out there from my first amateur fight and just throw straight bombs and throw heat and just go crazy. And now, as I've grown, in the last couple of years, my fight career, I've been more methodical on my strikes, on my wrestling, my grappling. Just my fight IQ has grown, my distance management. It just I feel more. I'm becoming more of a mature fighter now, and it's not just rock'em sock'em anymore. As I know that you get to the top, the top 15, it's murder's row. So you have to be a little bit different. You have to think a little bit different. That fight IQ has to start clicking, and coming in and learning how to adapt within the fight. Because you see a lot of fighters, they don't know how to adapt within the fight because they're always, they're so used to doing what they've always done. But what happens when that one thing that you've always done doesn't work? Well, if that right hand doesn't hit the target, what are you going to do after that? So being able to change up the game plan when things get a little bit rocky in a fight, I feel like that's where I've grown the most in my fight career.
What do you want your daughter to take away from this journey?
I want all of my kids, because I also got another one on the way. Just thank you. I want them to understand that. Look, and I feel like it's so crazy. I was listening to a song that J. Cole dropped because he just dropped a new album. He said that there's losses in the wins. So just because you lose doesn't mean that it's over with. When I took my first loss, that right there took me from 2-1, and then I went on a 6-fight winning streak. And just in that little bit of, and just in that loss, I was able to, learn so much about myself, learn so much about the fight game, really respect the fight game, really humbled myself. So I'm not saying that, winning is something that you want to do, because of course we don't want, or not winning, losing isn't something that you want to do, but there's definitely a lot of wins and losses in the loss if you really sit back and really take the time to really address your insecurities. So that's something I always want, to teach my kids, even teach my high school kids that are wrestling as well. Like, be able to learn from your mistakes and not just like brush it off. Because how many guys you see go into a fight and they lose, and then they go into another fight and they lose in the same way? It's like, did you not learn from your last fight? Did you really sit back and understand where you went wrong? Because until you figure out where you went wrong, you're going to continue to have that same problem. And you see guys that change weight classes. They either go up or they go down, and they think that's the answer. But the answer isn't the weight class. The answer is you. So until you understand and really address your insecurities, the sky's the limit for you. It's all up to you.
Absolutely. You mentioned, obviously, you and your dad have your family gym. One thing I like to ask fighters who own gyms or involved in it is, what happens in situations when you're doing classes, when you maybe have some people from out of town, some people come up, maybe they have a chip on their shoulder, maybe they want to be tough guy in the gym, maybe rough around. How does that get handled?
Yeah, so we lay that out. First things first. Our number one rule when you come into the gym is take care of your training partner, and we hold that to a high standard. Because you have guys like me who are fighting for real money. You go out there and you try to be a tough guy and try to throw something crazy or whatnot, and you hurt me, it's gonna be a problem because now guess what? Now I don't have a chance to fight. Now I just lost a whole bunch of money and possibly, depending on the injury, I could be out for a year. So that is the number one rule. Don't come in here. Come in with an open mind and come in just wanting to learn. There's no ego when you. And that's another rule. When you come through the door, you leave your ego at the door. I have nothing to prove. I'm looking to get better, and I'm trying to. And I understand there's that fine line of challenging each other, and that's fine. But it's when you see somebody that's like loading up, cocking back, and he's trying to knock you out, then that's when we have a problem there. But we never had we've had a couple of incidents like that, and I'm sure every gym has had that before. And it's nothing more than just if you feel the intensity going up, it's nothing more than just being, hey, you mind taking it down a little bit? We're just flowing real quick. Just take it down a little bit. There's nothing wrong with just saying that, and that's how you address the situation. Now, if they continue, then all right, then your ass is getting kicked out of the gym. Like we don't tolerate that.
It's crazy when you look at your dad's journey, when you look at your journey, it's really the whole story of back in the day to now what mixed martial arts is. When your dad was doing it, man, people thought this was human cockfighting. It wasn't legal in every single state, right? Kids were not doing jiu-jitsu at 10 years old. The people thought that this was crazy stuff. Now, you have kids doing jiu-jitsu 6, 7 years old. They're doing youth MMA. By the time they're 21, some guys have 5 or 6 fights. You're could be 3-0 in the UFC at only 23 years old. Do you see the trajectory of this sport? I mean, is this just something? Are we at a point where it's as accepted as it ever will be, and will just continue to be in that direction?
Yeah, I think so. When my dad was fighting, like back in 2009, that's when he took his first amateur fight. It was still illegal to fight in New York, MMA fights. So it's definitely. So now that it's becoming more accepted, and I think it really takes people to really sit down and really understand the fighting and what we're doing, because you see a lot of guys and they see a fight like mine and they're like, oh my god, that's so barbaric, that was crazy. And that's like once in a blue moon where you see something like that, once in a blue moon. But really understanding the art of it, the striking, the grappling, why we do it, and some people, maybe go out there and try it yourself, and you don't have to do it at a high level to where you want to fight. Maybe you want to do it just to get in shape, maybe learn a little bit of self-defense. So I think we are going into a trajectory where I think we're already at that point, actually, where it's more acceptable. People are understanding it more. And as the years go by, it's only going to grow bigger and bigger.
Absolutely. All right, last question for you, Elijah. In a perfect world, what is the outcome when you make your return to the UFC Octagon March 14th when you take on Su Young Yu?
The number one outcome, like I said before, is going out there and getting the first round knockout. That's the only thing that we're pushing for. If it ain't that, then shoot, I don't know what else we gunning for. I want to get that 100K bonus. That'd be life changing. But hey, I'm here no matter what, wherever the fight goes. If it's a 3-round war and I gotta grind out a win, I'm there. But I keep saying this. I said this in the beginning. I'm a crowd pleaser, man. So I want to go out there and put on a show and show everybody why, again, I belong in the UFC.
So with a big $100,000 bonus, we still selling Subarus?
I don't know. I might for a little bit, just to see. I don't want to go too crazy. I'm a put a little bit in the savings and see where my life is at. See if everything makes sense, and if it makes sense, then who knows? Maybe I might be done selling Subarus. If we get another contract, then I definitely will be done selling Subarus. So yeah.
Absolutely. Well, that's it for us today. I'm Carl Peruzza. He is Mr. Elijah Quick Smith. You can watch him coming up soon, March 14th. Fight fans, take care.
Oof.